Are you a geek like me that loves to get down and busy in numbers in an Excel spreadsheet and you want to do that for the live then rent real estate investment strategy? Well, then you're in the right place because I'm going to show you how to do that with a Google Sheets that you can actually download in the link below. My name is Ariel Herrera, your fellow data scientist with the AnalyticsAriel channel, where we bridge the gap between real estate and technology. Today's going to be a little bit of a mix of giving you some real estate knowledge while also getting a little bit techy inside in this Excel or Google Sheets spreadsheet. So if you haven't already, please like this video and also subscribe to our content. To get started, let's go straight into describing at a high level what this live then rent calculator is all about in this investment strategy. If you haven't already, please watch the prior video. We go through a visual walkthrough as to why this is a great vehicle for financial freedom. So in case you haven't already, please read Retire Early with Real Estate by Carson from Bigger Pockets. He has a lot of information about really good investment strategies, and one of them is actually the live then rent. And I've pulled some of his amazing content into this Excel file. So to get started, the 4 steps of the live in then rent plan, as he calls it, is first, you move into a property as your owner occupying it. Second, you live there for a reasonable amount of time, 1 to 2 years, while you fix up the property to be an ideal renter. The reason why you're living in it versus just investing in it is because you could put a lot less money down, whereas for an investment property, maybe 25% down, but if you're living in it, you can even go as low as 3.5% down using an FHA loan. So after you've been in the home for some time, you've rehabbed it, maybe you switched out the cabinets, you did painting, flooring, or even more extensive work. You then move out and keep the house as a rental with positive cash flow, meaning that your expenses are going to be less than your overall income. And then you can repeat this strategy as many times as you desire, but just make sure that you are aware during your time frame of how many loans you can actually have with a lender in order to keep qualifying. Alright, so I'm going to quickly brief through the benefits of this live and then rent strategy, and then we can go straight into the calculator. So first is the owner occupied financing. As I said previously, you get to put a lot less money down. Second is that you get to keep your mortgage, which means you usually get to keep a lower interest rate. The next is that you can actually have good rental locations, because sometimes when you're investing in a property, you may look for that really high cash flow, that high income to expenses, but they're usually not in good areas. Whereas here, you know more so about where you want to live. People have similar tastes to you, and likely this will be in a good area that will have good renters. Next is that you can cost effectively fix up the property, meaning that instead of doing a quick burr or a quick rehab strategy, you can actually spread this out to how many years you're living in the property, like 1 to 2 years, and do cosmetic or more fixes as you go along. And you can actually be thoughtful about these fixes because you understand what's going to actually make the value rise and what renters would want. And then lastly is flexibility. You could stay as long as you want in the property. It's not a hard push that you have to leave in 1 year. You can stay 2 years, 3 years, whatever is most comfortable to you. Alright, so now we're at the calculator, and the whole goal here is to do a simple comparison of how long it would take you to acquire these properties with the live then rent strategy versus a traditional approach. So the way we would start here is in this first section, the top left-hand corner where it says input. So I try to make this as simple as possible, where only where things are highlighted is where it's necessary for you to actually make tweaks. So let's assume that we live in an area where homes are moderately priced and we can purchase 3 different homes at around a similar price. They're probably going to be 3 bedrooms, 2 bath in suburban areas. And we've been able to analyze where our purchase cost would be and our rent. In the resources tab, if you're not sure how to look at rent, please check that out, and I actually have some links on how to do that. So the other thing I want you to put in is your savings by year. This is just a rough estimate as how much you think you can save in cash per year. And this is going to help to actually calculate the numbers of how long this is going to take for you to complete your strategy. In this case, where it's just 3 homes. So if I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and you're going to see on the bottom, there's 2 different tables here. So I want to highlight here that I have made some estimated costs like closing costs, PMI, and home insurance, etc. And that's all hidden. So if you want to actually dive deep into that, you can do that and tweak those numbers. I'm going to follow up with another video after this as to how these calculations are being done. Let me start by walking you through house 1. So house 1, our purchase price is $200,000. Our down payment is 5%. This you could toggle if you'd like. However, I think this is a good aim to try to get. Next, you'd see that the down payment because of this is $10,000, estimated closing costs $6,000, and your loan is $190,000, which means total cash out of pocket would be the down payment and the buyer closing costs at $16,000. Based upon your input earlier for rent, you would now see the rent there and then an estimated operating expenses per month, which if you want to, you can adjust in those hidden rows. After, you'd see the net operating income. This is before you pay the mortgage, which comes into the next cell. And afterwards, once you deduct the mortgage, you have $113 in cash flow, which means after all expenses, this is how much actual cash you have. And if you want to look at that at a yearly rate, it's going to be about $1,300. So this is how we're actually going to be able to estimate how well our property is performing. We want to make sure everything's cash flowing, that we're not in the negative zone, because that wouldn't be good. And this calculation is done for the 3 homes. And the beauty of this is that you're only inputting the values for where things are highlighted. And as we look on the second table on the right for the traditional investment property, we can see here that putting 25% down actually increases our total cash out of pocket by a lot. I mean, from the first home, we see it's $16,000, and then from scenario 2, that first home, it's $56,000. So a lot more we have to put down. However, we are going to get more cash flow because our mortgage is going to be lower. So there is a trade-off there. Now what I want you to look at is this summary on the top right-hand corner. And I think this has a lot of power to it because you can quickly gauge what the differences are between the traditional and as well as a live then rent strategy. So as we see here from scenario 1, it would take about 3 years in order to be able to acquire each of these 3 properties, assuming that we are going to stick to our savings per year, which is $20,000, and we're going to rent as soon as the 1 year is up. Now, if you look at the second scenario for traditional investment property, it is going to take us a longer time to be able to acquire money for these homes. And because of that, it's going to take about 9.5 years to get the cash for it. Again, there's assumptions here that you're not getting any raises at work, for example, and that you're not increasing your savings. This is a pretty simplistic calculation, but it does highlight something important here, which is that time is not on your side when you're going to a traditional strategy. It would take you 6.5 years in order to acquire those 3 properties. Those 3 properties, the later properties in your house set of 3, may have actually appreciated when you get to year 9, and you may have to pay for a higher cost, which may take even more time. Now, if you look at the down payment, it's pretty drastic. The down payment is $33,750 across those 3 properties, whereas for scenario number 2, it's $168,750. That's $135,000 difference. Like, that's not minor. That's a huge difference. And when we look at the cash flow, we talked about that trade-off. You are going to get more cash flow in scenario 2 because you put more money down, but you are losing out on time. The time that it took for you to acquire these houses and actually get this type of cash flow, you could have gotten more cash flow earlier on, even if it was smaller year by year, by actually acting quickly and fast. So I hope this gives you a really good scope where you can quickly plug in numbers and be able to see how these two different strategies compare, and even most importantly, look at how much time it would take based on those inputs of the property price, the rent, and the savings by a year. And just to note, if you look at the resources at the bottom, I actually give you links on how to estimate some of these things, like closing costs, operating expenses, rent, home insurance, and PMI. I'll be detailing how I'm actually using those calculations within the Rent Then Live calculator, so please stay tuned for that. Thanks so much.